What brought you to the knowledge yourself?
I started becoming, I guess, acquainted with the knowledge at a very turbulent time in my life.
Okay.
That was actually in my teenage years.
Okay.
We had just moved to California from Texas. This is like in the late 80s. So if you know anything about what was going on out there.
Okay, absolutely. We're talking California.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so definitely a culture shock, you know, dealing with that. But I was always, you know, I got made my informal introduction through hip hop, just listening to different terminology, and just certain things just kind of caught my ear. and trying to figure out what is this, like, what are you talking about? When I got to high school, it kind of grew a little bit more because you had more, the guys were actually more prominent in the forefront.
Right.
You know, you started seeing.
You get it firsthand.
Yeah, you
right.
seeing it. But again, the culture I'm surrounded by is not godly. We're dealing with Bloods, Crips, essays, everything.
Right. That culture.
That culture.
Yeah, right.
That's very dominant over there.
Yeah, it is.
It's like.
But where were you in California?
I started on the east side on 92nd and Hooper, and in Inglewood.
Okay.
I went to high school over in Watts, right by everybody does that when I say that. Right there by the Nickerson Garden Housing Project, which is the largest housing project west of the Mississippi. So I've seen a lot of stuff going on over there. I knew I had to understand that this isn't for me. I had to do something else. The images that the guys projected was positive. It was strong, intelligent. It wasn't weak, and everybody respected that. They respected that, even though they're in the midst of doing what they're doing. They respected the intelligence. I said,
"Yeah, okay, that's it."
Yeah. And so, as I got on through high school, started getting a little bit more information when I got to college. One of the brothers gave me a book called Stolen Legacy.
Oh, George and James.
Stolen Legacy. So that actually planted the deeper seed. And so I started reading these books and started listening a little bit more, and everything was kind of coinciding. I actually had a few people come and give me, lessons, but I didn't really know who they were. But I took it and accepted it just kind of for what it was. 8 years ago, Thursday, was the exact day I came down here for the first time, and I met Master Najee. And I actually came here for the first time, and I just came down here because I was curious, because I wanted to see this place with my own physical eye, because I've seen it so many times in documentaries and videos and stuff like that. And I wanted to see it because I have been greatly influenced by the culture. To me, it's like when you speak of black excellence, you gotta talk about the guys. Those that actually live the principles, the ones that are standing upright. That's black excellence to me. And to me, it's like me and Kara was one says, knowledge reigns supreme over nearly everybody.
Yeah.
There's no truer statement.
Yeah.
Even some of my most knucklehead homeboys, they knew I was different, and they respected what I was doing. And they respected the fact that I wanted to go into medicine, the fact that I read, it wasn't corny to them.
Yeah.
And the fact that I could actually talk to them, and we could actually have conversations. We'd be in the street, and they'd be out there selling their weed or whatever, this and that. And we'd be out there building, just selling stuff, and it was like, it was a genuine interest. Some of them kind of took heed, maybe, effective in ways I didn't see it or whatever. But today, when they look at me, it's like, I'm the person that they tell their kids about.
Right.
I want my kids to be around you.
Right.
I want my kids to see what you do. So I could go on for days, but the culture's had a profound effect on me, and it's still to this day, even though I'm still striving, it still has an effect. I'm learning more now. I've actually moved out here. I've connected with Supreme Elevation. He's actually correcting me on different things, and so I can actually see it in real time in the correct manner, because it's a big difference. Like from the outside looking in and seeing other people, because then you start realizing some people know the phrases. Some people know how to say this, and some people know how to say that, but do they connect the dots? Do they actually, walk it like they talk it, they live in mathematics? So that's why I say it's an honor to be here, because I've watched many videos in this classroom. For me to be sitting here today, I'm all the way from California, the city of Los Angeles,
Mm-hmm.
it's a big deal.
That's a degree Prince gave me with that one too. Islam at 90 degrees, I believe it was. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I'm talking about Los Angeles. That's came to mind. Yeah. Thank you for that. What brought you to becoming in your field?
You're an actual brain surgeon.
I trained in neurosurgery. I currently work in an orthopedic practice. We do spine. So I do a lot of spine. So you guys, I have pictures of me.
Yeah,
That's over here.
Yeah.
I got you.
Right.
Hey, Elevation, you gotta send that to me though.
Got you.
Please.
So what happened?
Before you go, would you? No, I wouldn't do that. But would you? Yeah. I would like to highlight that. But I cross that bridge. But go ahead, go get it. Speak.
So when I was about knowledge equality, knowledge of God around that age. I was getting ready to transition out of high school, and my father was like, "What do you want to do after you finish school?" I didn't think about it. I just said, "I want to be a doctor." And my father looked at me like, because for you to go, I have to back up a little bit. Prior to me going into high school and things like that, when we lived in Texas, I went to private school, predominantly white schools, because my mother felt like that was the best way I can get education. But when you allow other people to educate your children, you got to be diligent and make sure they're getting true education, not getting indoctrination. So it's very important, because you can go to school and get all kind of degrees and still not know anything.
Hello.
Damn.
Peace.
Thank you for that one. Thank you for that. Yes.
I see that every day. I see that every day.
Yeah, that was well said.
What happened was, when I was young, because I really wasn't what they call a good student. I was smart enough to pass tests and do things, but I just wasn't well behaved, I guess. I don't know. So they wanted to say that I had ADHD. And somebody told that to my father, and my father was like, "Well, guess what? He's not going to have that tomorrow." So he applied that positive energy to my ass and created elevation. He got me through school. And
right.
So by the time I got to high school, he was like, because when you start becoming aware of things, you start seeing the discrepancy in the stuff that you're taught.
Yes.
And when you're young, you may not know how to ask or challenge it appropriately. So your response is going to be to rebel.
Right. Okay.
So I rebelled a lot. And so my father, by the time I got through high school, was like, "Look, man, I got you through high school. If you're going to go and you're going to be in a physician, you want to be in medical school, you got to understand what type of commitment that takes." And I haven't seen you commit to anything that seriously yet.
Yeah, that's like crazy commitment.
That's crazy commitment.
Yeah.
So my first pediatrician when I was a kid was a childhood friend of my father's, and he watched him go through med school. He started telling me, his name is Dr. Colbert.
Your father watched him?
Yeah, he watched him.
Okay.
And he was like, Bobby Colbert, he would tell me these stories about Bobby Colbert. He's like, this guy would study. I guess they used to work at the Pancake House. He would be studying at the Pancake House while working this and that. I've never seen you study unless you had to study. He was on me. But he was like, listen, if you're going to do this, I'm going to be with you. And I'm going to help you. Unfortunately, he was right. I did not understand what kind of commitment it would take. So my first attempt to do this was very challenging. I did not succeed. So I actually got away from the discipline and everything that made me successful during high school. I got away from that. And so I ended up leaving school for a little bit and then going to a community college. Because my father's like, listen, you gotta get your head right, because you're not in the right mind space to really do what you're saying you're doing. So he's like, tell you what, get you a job, you start paying for school, this and that. So I started paying for school, started doing things. In the meantime, I actually got a job. I was working with kids. I was a counselor for several years. I worked with at-risk youth for several years. Working with them was probably one of the best jobs I had because I could see myself in a lot of them. And it made me want to go back and correct a lot of stuff within myself. And, you know, it took me some time, and I started getting my mind right, started doing things. I actually was getting ready to, at one point, to just kind of leave it alone because years that went by and it just seemed like I wasn't getting ready to making that. I wasn't making any ingrounds. And I actually was getting ready to leave, but then I talked to my guidance counselor at school, and I seen they had this program, the one I wanted to go to. And I went in there and I told them, I was like, listen, I see you guys are getting ready to start this program. I know what it is because I went to Charles Drew years ago, and I knew what it was. I was at the School of Allied Health, right across from what they call Killer King, Martin Luther King Hospital. If you know LA, is a very famous trauma center there. All the UCLA people come there to train. It's one of the best trauma centers there. It's right there in the middle of Wilmington, Compton, and Watts. So you got a lot of trauma happening in that area.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
So when I went to talk to the guidance counselor, he pulled up my record, and he looked at my record. He looked at me like my father, like, you gotta be kidding me. Like you haven't been going to school, you've been working, this and that. So I said, you know what? I know that I can do this. All I gotta do is just apply myself.
Okay.
So I started going to school. My grades started magically just start reversing. I started getting A's, B's. I carried a B plus average or whatever. And he looked at me, he's like, okay, I see that you're serious about this. So I finally finished all my prerequisites for the school. In 2006, right before I was getting ready to apply, my mother had a very bad stroke. But before she had that stroke, maybe a week or two before she had the stroke, we had our last conversation. And she looked at me, she said, I'm very proud of you. I see the change in you. Promise me that you will finish and continue doing what you're doing. You know, I was like, yeah, you know, no problem. I didn't know this would be the last full conversation we had.
Right, this is like her last, like, you know.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
Because
right.
she was healthy. She was healthy.
Right,
before
right.
that.
You didn't catch none of that. Right,
None of
right.
that.
Got you.
So 2 weeks later, I get a call. Yeah, my mom had a stroke. They're taking her to the hospital. You know, she had a very bad hemorrhagic stroke. She had a huge brain bleed. I remember her last words like, "Don't let me die." You know. So we did everything. We made sure that she was treated right and everything like that. We brought her home. We eventually got her home. I had to leave school to take care of her for 2 years. Now, initially, when I started wanting to go to school, and this all ties in, I thought I was going to be going to cardiothoracic heart surgery. That was my goal.
No, the heart.
Yeah, the heart. But the universe, you know, it puts you where you're supposed to be.
Okay, got you.
Right. So I get accepted. I had to delay my applying to the program for 1 year because I had to just kind of be at home to deal with her. So when I finally did it, I got accepted. I finished the program, and it was a very challenging thing. Like you said, being disciplined. There was no partying. They literally told us, like, listen, you belong to us for the next 2 years. You have to be here when we tell you to be here, and you cannot leave until we tell you to leave. My friends, some of them went on to do other things. Some of them out there party. They would call me. Sometimes I'd be in the hospital working the overnight shift, having to sleep over. Out in Las Vegas, partying and stuff like that. You know, I had to let all that go. You know, I had to basically sacrifice a lot. To anybody that goes into the medical field, you have to sacrifice a lot. It's a big commitment. It's not just the academics. It's like you have to sacrifice a lot because you have to give so much of yourself. Because when you finish, you're still gonna have to give so much of yourself to your patients. So it's constantly a position where you're constantly giving. You don't stop giving. If you don't value the fact that people are coming to you in their time of need, and you don't see that as a privilege, you need to stop and get out of the business right then. Okay? So if you come to me saying, hey, I'm having this situation, you know, I gotta stop what I'm doing. Shasha, what do you got going on? Tell me. And I gotta give you the best that I have to offer. You know, so I may have to put whatever I have to put to the side so I can make sure you get that. Anyway, I finally finished in 2010. You know, we banged it out. You know, it wasn't pretty, but we banged it out. We finished out in 2010. So at that point, it was like I wanted to, you know, I had to actually go take the board exam to become a board certified physician assistant. So,
Okay.
matter of fact, next year I have to take my boards next year.
Okay.
So, after I did that, I was like, I started working in pain management. I was like, well, I still want to do surgery. I got information from the schools like, well, Arrowhead in San Bernardino, the neurosurgery team, they have a fellowship for PAs. These were the doctors that actually treated my mom when she had her stroke. So I got to train with them.
Wow. You have an enlightening and interesting, I'm just cut you off.
No, it was
No, this is journey.
yeah.
And thank you for coming and sharing that, man, and making knowledge born about that. I'm gonna stop. As you were
A
saying.
couple more hours, man. We ain't even get started yet.
Yeah.
We ain't even get started.
Yeah.
So that was a big thing, you know. Like I said, everything is like comes back around 360 degrees, comes back around, and you know, I learned a lot, you know. But I felt like if I wanted to take it to the next level, after 2 years, I needed to leave. So they wanted to keep me there and wanted me to work out there, but I really wanted to be in the trenches in the OR, doing stuff. And it was like because I was dealing with residents, I wasn't always the first person to be able to get into cases or anything like that. So I ended up coming out here in 2016. I started coming out here in 2014. I've interviewed in Brooklyn. I interviewed at Coney Island and a few places, but I ended up going upstate to Columbia Memorial out there in Hudson, New York.
Okay.
And I started working with an orthopedic surgeon. That practice ended up closing down. And then I went to Ithaca, New York, right there in Cornell. And that's when I started working with a neurosurgeon again. And that grind is real, because when you're in the neurosurgery practice, you're actually working with the service that determines the emergency room ranking of the hospital. So if you have a trauma 1 center, that means that you're getting all the gunshots, car accidents, all the everything that's coming in. And I did that when I worked down at Staten Island at Richmond University Medical Center. I was there for it. I actually ended up coming down here for the pandemic, during the pandemic.
Okay.
Because everybody was leaving. So, and I've been down here since 2020.
Okay. So you're here or Jersey?
I live in Jersey now.
Okay.
I just
But you
moved
work
out
here.
So the place I work at now, we have an office in Manhattan. So I've been back and forth from Manhattan.
Is
to
it private
Jersey.
or is it?
It's a private
private.
practice.
Okay.
Private practice.
Okay.
And so like I said, we're an orthopedic base. Our big thing is spine, but we do extremities as well. You know, like
Well, you back extremely upper or lower?
neck, mid,
Neck,
low
okay.
back, everything. So
Right.
the picture did you show me those pictures?
Yeah.
Those pictures that you see, the pictures that you see was actually that I was in surgery Tuesday, and we did a decompression. The lady had she's probably gonna need more surgery, but she had really bad stenosis, which means that she has pressure on the nerves coming off her spinal cord and her extra nerve roots. So she had weakness and pain in her leg. So we went there, opened it up for her to take some of that pressure off.
Superman. Go ahead, bro. Superman, right? Yeah. Yeah, man. Yeah, great, man. Great.
You must do your own research, as I did.
If Mecca did this.